Last episode, I talked about the innate inaccurate nature of movie genres. The current system just doesn't cut it when it comes to an objective classification of cinema. I set forth to create a resource for audience, artist, and critic alike, the aesthetic genre system. Before showing my framework, I must first explain why I decided the aesthetic approach was the logical way to objectively classify films. Why not simply classify based on story details, directorial style, pace, or even sound? When I personally think about a classification system, the first matter that pops out to me is that it must be objective. There can't be major disagreements about what terms mean. So in order to create a good system, the framework must hinge off an element of cinema that is pervasive and not open to debate. This is why I chose the visual aspect of films to focus on rather than anything else. I'll walk through my thought process on that. In order to be sure that visuals are the distinctive feature of cinema, one must examine the various ways one can experience a film. This is best achieved by breaking exposure to the medium into sensory functions. According to the hypothesis of five senses, humans experience the world around them through sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. Touch, smell, and taste are not yet an established part of the filmmaking process, of which I am very grateful as a fan of horror movies. Thus, the creators of a given film cannot currently leverage these senses to enhance the experience. This train of thought eliminates 3 out of the 5 senses right away. Auditory input is of great significance, yet audio without visuals is radio drama. Additionally, audio could be replaced with subtitles, perhaps lessening the impact, but would still provide a similar film experience and still allow for the story to be told on screen. At one time, silent films were all that existed. Therefore, auditory input cannot be our singular and objective force from which to drive our system. This leaves us with the remaining sense of sight. Early films were called moving pictures for a reason. It is the purest distillation of the medium. Now to get cracking on finding convenient compartments in which to place films or parts of a film. Before breaking movies into parts to categorize, we must first develop a system for approaching the medium as a whole. Since the runtime of many movies lasts several hours, it would not have been efficient for me to actively watch them all. In order to keep my investigation both streamlined and analytical, I decided to take screenshots a minimum of every 5 minutes of runtime, as well as whenever a visible shift in aesthetic qualities occurred on screen. The resulting collection of images forms a cinematic fingerprint that is indicative of all the aesthetic styles and visual tones prevalent in a single film. I call this collection of thumbnails an aesthetic fingerprint. Any post-processing or tampering with these stills would skew the results, and the same hardware and software was used with every movie I looked at, in order to further reduce any potential unnecessary variance in visual quality and tone. From the fingerprints of over 100 films spanning every possible narrative genre, a long list of elements was created. These visual elements were grouped by film. As the visual elements were refined, split, or consolidated, patterns began to emerge, and I observed a natural framework forming. The resulting collection of categories and elements began to form an outline which operated under the weight of majority. Upon viewing a film, the elements within it could easily be marked on the aesthetic genre system framework, and the resulting genre would be a combination of the two categories with the majority of the elements. The first discovery when dissecting films is that they are composed of 2 specific visual categories: visual tone and visual subject. Visual subject is merely what is being shown to the audience. For example, in Jurassic Park, the dinosaurs, park buildings, characters, and ride cars are all elements within the visual subject. Visual tone can be thought of as a coat of paint applied to the visual subject. How the events taking place are stylistically presented. An example of a notable visual tone is from The Matrix, where a high contrast level is coupled with a grade of green to give the film a distinctive look. Within the categories of visual tone and visual subject, there are individual elements, the grouping of which creates various visual subject genres and visual tone genres. The combination of these groupings create the aesthetic genre to which a film belongs. Within my system, there are a total of 9 possible aesthetic genres. In the next episode, we'll jump into exactly what make up the details of this system and even how to use it yourself if you like. This has been Cinema Cemetery, digging 6 feet deeper into the film industry and culture.